Hello, everyone. Welcome inside the Red Earth Production Studios for this edition of YBMcast. And today we have a special edition with our coaches preview all the way from Southwest Missouri in the great city of Willard, Missouri. Defending Class 5 state champs head coach, Willard High School, Scott McGee. Coach, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having us, and thanks for coming down a few weeks ago and previewing our youth. And you just do so many great things for baseball.
It was so much fun going down and you know, coming down and seeing the program, what you guys do on the youth side. I know we made Kevin Mulder still remarks, you know, we were down there. We started going down there in 21. You guys were in the state Final Four, and just seeing the community come out and all the little guys that we interviewed. And I think we were talking to some of the kids at the practice that we had interviewed in 21 in the stadium. And, you know, that's the cool stuff for us. There's a lot of full circle things that come along with this and what we're doing. And that's why I love doing. And I said, you know, to you, we got a chance to see from the bottom to the top, the kids working their way up to the high school ages. And that's what this is about. It's a lot of fun seeing these kids grow. And, you know, from that time, you know, they have their aspirations. They're seeing those kids play on that big stage, you know, and they go, I want to play out there. And so there you go. It starts from right there.
Yeah, and it's just also been really cool to see our high school guys and how they interact so well with our youth guys, and you know, just continuing to see that. One of the things I think that's very underrated, our youth director Noel Spearing does a tremendous job, and then we just have so many dads who are involved for the right reasons, helping out, coaching youth baseball, helping fix our youth fields, not trying to be heroes themselves, but get the kids ready for high school baseball and just kind of moving on from there.
Absolutely. You know, we were talking before we started here, Coach. You said you got a lot of kids that are starting to play ball at the college, and you've been able to watch starting that going on right now.
Yeah, it's been really cool. We have 17 guys currently playing college baseball. A lot of them are down here in our area. Big rivalry in NAIA baseball in Southwest Missouri is Evangel and College of the Ozarks. And we've had pitchers get wins and losses in those games against each other already this weekend. Some of our assistant coaches are down there watching right now. Former players are down there, or not, current players are down there watching our former players. And so there's already been some trash talk and rivalry stuff. And so it's been really cool. Baseball is such a wonderful game because of all the relationships you get out of it, and those things are continuing throughout life. And I was just at a first grade practice and ended up talking to a few guys who graduated from Willard back in 05 and 06, and just getting the chance to be around so many cool people is really fun.
Gotta love that full circle stuff. Coach, you guys are coming off, you know, a state championship run. Defeated Branson in the District 6 district final. State champions. Wasn't a cakewalk. I mean, the semifinal game, was so tight. It was just there was a crazy play that happened. You guys took Fort Zumwalt South 5-4. I mean, you guys have had those games with Fort Zumwalt South over the last few years in the Final Four that have been just crazy stuff.
It has been Carter Cox, Connor Mendel. I can still tell you about all those guys. It feels like, you know, and it seems I'm glad those guys have finally graduated. But you know, we've had some great games with them. That game, we jumped out to a 4-0 lead. We added one in the fourth, which ended up being the most underrated run of the game because we just had some big at-bats in that inning to get a fifth run, which didn't seem like it would have mattered. And then, of course, Zumwalt South is just a quality ball club, and they came storming back. In the seventh, we're up 5-4, and we make a mound visit. And I said, guys, we can allow one because we still have the opportunity to win it in extras. And I liked our pitching depth better than I thought what Fort Zumwalt South had. And we ended up getting out of the inning without allowing any. It was just a really cool deal. And able to move on to the state championship, and we're fortunate enough to win it. So I think the most underrated part of that group last year was 42 innings pitched in the postseason. We threw 40 scoreless innings. We only allowed a run 2 times. We allowed 4 in the fourth of the semifinal game, and we allowed 1 in the state championship. And otherwise, we pitched a shutout every inning, and just a really good job by our pitchers and our defense to get it done for us.
You were relying a lot on some seniors and whatnot, and
Yeah.
you I'm gonna go through. I mean, Landon Moore, Andrew Quinlan, Peyton Gare, Hayden Rakestraw, Hayden Larson, Jacob Heron, Cameron Jennings, Kalen Adams. All those
Yeah.
guys were big parts of your state run, and a lot of pitching was in that mix too. Correct, Coach?
Absolutely. We lost probably our 1, 2, 3, and 5 pitchers from last year. So it's going to be a lot to replace. And then, Landon started for most of the 4 years he was in high school. Quinlan, Rakestraw, they came through so many times. Heron carried us the second half of last season offensively. We've got some huge shoes to fill there because of just all those things that those guys did. Peyton Gator, just a really good leader in center field for us, and came through in the biggest moments. Had a diving catch in the 7th inning of that state semifinal game. Just you can just play through so many scenarios where those guys just came through time and time again.
Absolutely. I want to start though. We were down at the clinic, the coach's clinic, and there's the hubbub and the buzz, and you're the guy that's right in the middle of those things. And I always love that about what you're always right on top of things. There's a possibility you've been on the edge. You've talked about it a little bit last year, right on that Class 6 edge.
Yeah.
And I know you're doing all the machinations and looking at that. Is there a possibility you guys may end up in Class 6 this year?
There's definitely. I've been telling people it's probably like 60-40 that we're Class 5. Borgia, I believe, is going to be Class 6 due to the championship factor. CBC, of course, will be. Vianney actually is dropping down to Class 5, and Perfect Game has them nationally ranked right now. So it's I think we're going to be Class 5, but there is definitely a possibility. We're somewhere between 63 and 66 on the enrollment, and it's going to come down to those private school championship factors. And so we're either going to be one of the 2 smallest Class 6s or the 2 largest Class 5s. And we've went it both ways. In 2019, we were one of the smallest in the largest class. We made it to the Final Four and ultimately got beat by Marquette in semis for that one by Ian Loesch, who's had a good career at Mizzou. But, we're always right there. And so I would say if we're Class 5 this year, we're going to be right there. Vianney, Webb, there's a handful of us with a chance. For Class 6, it's going to be a little bit tougher because Class 6 is just a different beast when you're talking about the bottom of the order depth and then the power arms that you see in Class 6.
Now, Vianney, that's curious because they not counting the COVID? I think the year with that COVID, are they going to count that?
Yeah, so I'm not sure exactly how it works, but they've lost some points. So basically, it dropped off their big year from like 2018 or whatever it was, and so that should push us. Unfortunately, that's going to push them down to Class 5. I say it's going to be fortunate for them because they are loaded. They are loaded with Division I talent. So. But that's probably not an issue for us until the state semis. That would be there'd probably be like in Rockwood Summits district, and that'd make that a really competitive district.
Absolutely. Yeah, man, if they are Class 5, oh yeah, you're right. I mean, that's kind of a preseason number 1 kind of thing.
Yeah, I think so too.
So that'll be interesting. And that's what I wanted to lead to the challenge. And I always like to talk about these things. I don't know if you do or not, but it's a great question. Your son is going to be a junior this year. And I always think it's a tough thing to, those relationships, coaching your son in a program where you've had a lot of success. Talk to us a little bit about those challenges.
Yeah, it is a challenge is a great word for it. His freshman year, he was on our freshman team. It was where he deserved to be. He could have probably played a little bit of JV, but he was a freshman level player. Last year, he started the season hitting sixth on the JV. We were not figuring him factoring into the varsity mix, and honestly, he just played so well. And I had some seniors who were just phenomenal young men who kept coming to me and say, "Hey, you got to play more. You got to play more. You got to play more." And so once those kids, like, they just want to win. Their
Yeah.
seniors want to win, and them advocating for him, I think, made him more comfortable. And the whole time, I didn't want to ruin what was possibly a championship season by trying to insert your son into the game. Like, you've been around people that are that way. That, well, So this year has actually been way better. He's going to be, he's going to hit cleanup for us. He's he's going to be a huge part of what we do. So I think this year will be a little bit better. Now the key is going to be, does he feel pressure that he has to come through all the time because he's the coach's son? Last year he got to be a small part. Now he has to be a major part. I've talked with a lot of people about this. Guys like Tony Perkins did such a great job of coaching their sons. Justin Tao at Rockbridge has a son right now as a senior. He's already coached a son that played for him. It is not easy. It would be way easier if he was the best player in our program, and it'd be way easier if he was the 20th best player in our program. But last year he was like the 13th best, and now this year he'll be one of the 2 or 3 or 4 best. So it's fun to do. I will say it's been really fun to talk about things with him and just to see him grow up, but it's had a lot of challenging moments.
Absolutely. And I think it's always that thing where, as a dad, you're looking at, I gotta, you're separating the two. You want to be proud of your son. And I think it's a hard thing to separate yourself and just look at it and being able to watch your son play baseball. Just
Yeah.
just to watch him. I just want to watch the at bat. Oh, I can't. I got to give a sign. And I think that's got to be a challenge a little bit. Just in the moment, just go. Just being proud that that's my son. I just want to watch him play, watch him in a moment, and watch this. And I think that to me has got to be a challenge in and of itself.
It is a huge challenge because you also don't want the other guys to think that you're favoring him in some way. But this is my last time to get to coach him and get to do that, and hopefully I'll just get to go watch him in college and get to do that part of it. But I will say it's been way better this off season to just think back to last year. When you're in season and you're in the grind of it, you don't think about all the things that he did. But now that you get away from it, you get to think about it a little bit. He had huge hits for us in like 8 games last year, and all in the second half of the season when he kind of became our primary pinch hitter. And so it's been cool to think back to it, because when you're in the moment of it, you really don't think about it much.
Yeah, that's I'm glad it's an opportunity and it's a cool thing to share. So we've got some production to replace though, and you have 9 returning seniors from that junior class. And I always like to start with pitching because you definitely have some holes to fill there. One young man, pitching wise, you got a couple kids though. The junior, Levi Hilton, who pitched 35 innings for you. He was 3-1 with a 3.60, and then you also have with a young man we spoke to when we were down there, Brighton Tao, who was 3-0 with a 2.31 ERA, 21 Ks. I love that. 6 walks in 21 innings. That's getting it done. So you got a couple of guys there that were part of the innings last year. Where are you filling in around these guys, and what do you think about these 2 gentlemen here?
Yeah, I think Levi's probably the best junior in Southwest Missouri as far as just present pitchability. We've had 2 guys from this area that have signed with Arkansas and Missouri State. They've got a lot of upside, but Levi's 88 to 90, good changeup. His ERA was a bit inflated. Rockbridge knocked him around pretty good late in the season, but he started the state championship game for us, got us into the 3rd inning, and did a really good job. I think he's going to be, right in the mix for the best pitcher in Southwest Missouri this year. Brighton Tao, who you've already referenced, will be our number 2. He's a low 80s guy, but he throws 4 pitches for strikes. Ultimate competitor. He's just a 5'9", 180-pounder that knows how to pitch. Loves the St. Louis Cardinals. I'm a Cubs fan, so I give him grief about that all the time. But he's going to be really, really good for us. Probably the guy last year that could have played a bigger role that didn't really get the opportunity to do so. Our third guy is a guy named Colin Spearing. He's going to Lincoln Land Community College up in Illinois next year. Just a little athletic guy, 5'9", 170. Started for us in football, was one of our best players. He pitched out of the bullpen some last year, had one bad start that kind of inflated his ERA as well. But, he's going to be a mid to upper 80s righty. He can really spin the baseball. He's going to be really good. After those three, to be honest, we have a lot of question marks. Those are the three guys that you've got to balance. How do we don't want those guys throwing 55 innings this year, or they're going to be dead by the time we get to the postseason. So we've got to really develop some guys in those 4 through 8 roles to be good. Probably right now our fourth guy is another senior named Dale Anderson. He just committed to C of O the other day. Dale's just a low 80s guy with good movement, hard worker, physical kid. And then after that, it's a group of juniors. My son, a guy named Cade Hyder, Kyler Adams, who's another strike thrower, just his brother Kalen, you watched last year pitch, and then we have a sophomore named Matthew Burns and another one named Jackson Red. So all of those guys are kind of figuring it out. We need 2 of those guys to pop and become really productive arms, and we need another guy to be able to fill innings, or otherwise you're going to see some weird losses this year. When you're going into a 5 or 6 game week and you've got to throw some of those guys, if 1 or 2 of them blow up, all of a sudden you're looking at the end of the year and you're like, man, how'd those guys beat you 10-7? And as well, our pitching wasn't ready. And so that's been a major focus for us these last 4 weeks in our off-season practice window, and we got to keep getting better in those spots.
With your program like it is and what you're talking about here, you're not so much worried about some of those losses early in the season in that respect. You just want to see what you're going to get out of these kids, correct?
Yeah, I try to put them in as many weird situations as we can. We always have kind of made it to the district championship game, I think 13 straight years. Having guys ready for the roles that might end up coming up when you get to that moment. So we've got to be able to throw Levi Hilton out of the bullpen occasionally because he may need to come out and close the state semifinal game. We've got to get those 4 through 8 guys. Maybe one of them turns into the guy who just gets out left-handed hitters, but we're not going to know that unless we put them in those situations. Unfortunately, sometimes they fail in those situations and you end up losing some games. So, we've won a state title when we had 11 losses. We've made Final Fours with 13 losses. We referenced Vianney earlier. I believe they may have won a state title a few years ago with a losing record back in like 16 or 17.
I think that was DeSmet.
That was DeSmet. DeSmet in 19. DeSmet in 19 had a losing record in going into the state playoffs and won it. You can play a soft schedule and throw your best kids all the time, but we have chosen to take some risks. Last year, those risks always paid off, so we only ended up with 5 losses. But a lot of years, those risks don't pay off. And I would say this year we're going to lose more than 5 times in the regular season, just as we try to sort through some of those things the first 4 or 5 weeks.
Yeah, and it comes down to these things. I always look at pitching and defense. It's where it's at. And when you're talking about your defense, now you got your shortstop coming back.
Yeah.
In Matt Angel, and had a great conversation with that young man. You have, but you have some question marks in places behind the plate. You got a young man who got some innings behind the plate, and I know it's Rowden, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Rowden. Rowden Lejeune. And, where are you guys fitting in some of these pieces? It's tough. You got to build that defense up the middle. You need the strength. You have your shortstop. You have a guy that has done some work for you behind the plate, but where are you going with some of these guys?
Well, this is actually kind of fortunate. Last year, I felt like our calling card was our defense, and I think this year we'll be as good defensively. Matthew he had 9 errors last year, but 4 of them came in one game against Francis Howell in the Columbia tournament when he was exhausted. Rowden is a really good defender. He's going to Evangel. Matthew's going to Fort Scott. Our second baseman, who started the first 15 games last year and then got hurt, his name's Cade Hyder. He's a junior. He'll be back this year. Really good defender at second. So if you kind of start from there and go catch your short second, you're pretty good. But our center fielder and right fielder are both really athletic kids. That's Jackson Phipps and Colin Spearing, two seniors. And so then from there, you're just kind of piecing it around together. I will say one worry we have is that last year we had a whole bunch of pitcher onlys. And this year we're going to have a lot more two-way guys. Hilton, Tao, Spearing, all will both pitch and play a position. So it means that we're going to have to slide them into the DH spot a lot more to rest them on some days or even sit them on some days. And Spearing and Tao are both really good defenders. So trying to develop some defensive depth is also a little bit of a concern for us this year. But I think in the games when it matters, when it's the district championship game, I think defensively we'll be as good as anybody. That's going to be a strength of ours, I really feel like.
You guys seem to, that's the thing. The piece and setting your hat on your defense. I mean, looking down through your scores, no matter who you were playing from last year, you had a lot of low scoring games that you come out of a 1-0 game. I think you even like Nixa, you beat. There was a game, I think it was 1-0. And, so that shows that you do hang your hat on your defense and look at, hey, we can scratch a run late or we can do this here as long as we're putting the defensive work in.
Whenever I first kind of took over the program, our goal was to get good enough at pitching. And then once we did that, it was, okay, can we make sure we can get one run when we need to? And then the next step was, can we defend getting the one run? And I really feel like Liberty is kind of the pinnacle of that out of Kansas City. We were 14-1 in one-run games last year. The one loss we had was Liberty, because I do think they're the only team in the state that's better than us at those two things. But if you're telling me the game's 4-4 in the sixth, I believe that we have the ability to get one run on our offense, and we have the ability to prevent you from getting one run. Sometimes if you'll notice, the games we get beat is just because we get outpowered. Somebody hits a 3-run bomb. Like we have not been able to develop that kind of a talent level yet that could do those kinds of things. But as far as defending one run and getting one run, I think that's kind of what we hang our hat on. And this in the postseason, it seems like every game's a one-run game. So if we can avoid the big swing from our opponent, then we feel like we have a good chance in any game.
There you go. Now, I haven't seen Liberty as much that way there in the Kansas City area, but it reminds me a lot of Fort Zumwalt West up here with Coach Goff. Does a lot of the same, hangs his hat on his defense. I mean, they make plays, they keep the game close, and they win a lot of those games late. It's
And talking to him, he's a guy that kind of like what we'll do. We'll slide a shortstop over to first base. We don't play bad defenders. It's one of the things that we have had some guys. I mean, last year with guys like my son, the Heron kid you were talking about, they were two of our best 6 or 7 hitters. The problem is they weren't very good defensively last year. So how do you get them on the field? Well, they became a DH and they became a pinch hitter. But I'm going to start defense. Our pitchers hate when I say this, but it's not that hard to pitch a shutout. Throw the ball over the plate. You're better than most of the lineup, and then we're really good on defense. And I think when you're a pitcher and you know that every guy out there defensively can make plays, it just really relaxes you to where you aren't falling behind in counts and you're attacking people.
I love that because what comes to mind is the great line from Crash Davis. Throw some ground balls. They're more democratic.
Absolutely. Absolutely. If you've got Angel and Hyder up the middle behind you, you want ground balls. I mean, it saves your pitch count and it's way easier. Yeah.
Absolutely, man. I love that. Offensively, Coach, you guys do score runs, and you got at the top of that, Matt Angel coming back, 352 last year, 25 ribbies, 10 doubles, 4 triples, a home run. He had 24 base on balls. That's very productive.
He's kind of Landon Moore was kind of our prototypical offensive player. Matthew is like that exact same guy, plus has power. We like guys who can run. We like guys who can work counts. We like guys who can bunt. And then if they have some power, it's a bonus. And Matthew has that power, which is a bonus. I really think if he can there's a chance he can hit 15 doubles this year. He's going to hit in the 3-hole for us. He's a 6'3" left-handed hitter. If he can gain 25 pounds while keeping his athleticism, I think he'll be a Division I player after playing at Fort Scott. So he's kind of the linchpin to our offense. And then in the leadoff spot, we'll have Hyder, who's a switch hitter. And he had maybe close to a 500 on base percentage last year, runs well. And then Hilton is back for us, and he's kind of our biggest power threat, and so he'll probably hit in the 2-hole. He did not homer last year because he kept hitting the ball about 98 miles an hour, but always straight into the ground. So we're trying to get him to elevate the ball a little bit this year. So we really like those three to kind of pace the lineup. And then I think the bottom of our order, which was so good for us last year, is going to be really good for us again this year. Guys like Jackson Phipps, Brighton Tao, Colin Spearing, they're seniors who know how to play. And so we feel really good. I was talking to our coaches the other day. We felt good about 13 position players last year. Right now, we feel good about 8 of them. So we've got to really hone in and find another 3 or 4 guys over these next 5 or 6 weeks that we feel good about, and just keep giving them opportunities and kind of a survival of the fittest by the time we get to mid-April.
There you go. I like it because Jackson Phipps in 40 at bats, he hit 325. And I mean, when you're, small sample size, but Lejeune also 28 ABs, he hit 321. So you got some guys that can, they're develop and you look for a little bit more, but that's pretty good with that small a sample size.
Absolutely, and there are 2 guys who go about it in different ways, but that we will like the lineup versatility. If you've got a guy who throws curveballs and pitches off of his curveball, I like to have 3 or 4 guys who are better at hitting curveballs than they are fastballs. And if you have a lineup that's kind of diverse like that, it allows you to not get shut out. We've got to be able to have pockets of our lineup that can produce one run. And I think the bottom of our order into that middle of our order is going to be able to do that. We've got a lot of guys who can kind of Swiss Army knives of offense that if you go to a showcase, they're not going to hit the ball 410 feet to the opposite field, but they can spray the ball around and work counts and win in the bunt game.
Last thing here, Coach, as we talk about this team, is there is there a freshman out there that might surprise, a sophomore that might surprise us?
Yeah, I think there's 2 sophomores. Jackson Red played on our freshman team last year, was our catcher. He's probably going to transition to the outfield this year, but he's a little dynamo. He reminds you a little bit of Cade Hyder in that he's just, I don't want to make fun of him, but he's probably only about 5'6". But he plays like he's about 6'1", but with the attitude of about a 5'1" guy. He just flies around the field. But he can play in the bunt game. He has more power than you think. He can play outfield, second base, catcher. There's a chance he's going to pitch some for us, and just kind of the gritty kind of guy. And then Matthew Burns will factor in for us on the mound. He's been up to 85 indoors. He's got a good breaking ball. He's got some game situation stuff we've got to keep working on with him, but he's one of those guys in that 4 through 8 that you can see jumping up. He's not quite to Hilton's level a year ago, but other than that, he's one of the best sophomore arms we've had here in a while. So I could see him being pretty good. So those 2 will probably play a role. And then from there, we're always looking for guys that could become a pinch runner or be the guy that just comes off the bench and hits fastballs or whatever it is that could factor in there. But those would be the 2 that going in probably have a chance.
How do you keep these kids hungry after a state title run?
I think always wanting to make their own legacy. The legacy that guys like Hayden Larson and Cameron Jennings and Peyton Gayer and all those guys set last year, that was their legacy. And we were the supporting cast as seniors. Now this senior group needs to form their own legacy. And it doesn't mean they have to win a state championship. This year we could have a very successful season and not win a state title. Because we do have good kids who are pushing themselves every day and being good teammates. And it's just a really fun group of kids to coach. It's probably the easiest group to coach that I've had, as far as just there's never a discipline issue. Every student is a good student. They do exactly what you ask. And so that part's been really easy. where our biggest focus right now is. Some of them are successful in life because they fear failure so much, and we want them to be willing to take some risks and just go out and play and relax and have fun playing this great game of baseball. But I really think it's going to be a group that leaves a legacy in that everything they do is they do things the right way. And that's kind of the legacy I think this group's going to leave for us.
I love that. I love that. That's cool because our good partners over at Go to Athletic would love that. They talk about earn your legacy.
Yeah.
Got to earn it. I love it. Hey, folks, it's good stuff here. We're looking forward to another season. We will be down in Springfield. It's actually, we're going to be down there in May, last week of the season. It's kind of weird, a little different this year. But we're going to have some fun down there. We'll have Willard, but we're going to be in Branson for this one. A little rematch of the district championship game down there with Branson and Willard at Branson's house this time. But I'm looking forward to this. I saw that matchup and I was like, I got to do that. That's too good to leave alone there, Coach.
It will be good. And Branson, I bet they have the best facilities in the state of Missouri. Branson has a phenomenal facility. They do some great things down there.
Yeah, I got a chance to meet the Branson head coach, and we're going to talk a little bit. Yeah. And they do some streaming down there with the kids, so it'll be cool. I always love to get a little different look with certain things that way. So we're looking forward to being down there.
Yeah.
All right, folks. Appreciate you tuning in. Hope you enjoyed that. We got some great stuff here with Coach McGee. If you like what we're doing, please take a moment, hit that like button, like it, share it out with your friends. Appreciate that very much. Hit the subscribe while you're here. Hit the dinger next to it. It's not a home run. Sorry, but it's the next best thing. It gets you some notifications for upcoming episodes just like this. Can't miss it. We appreciate Coach Scott McGee hanging out with us here for this time. As always, Coach, a lot of fun. And you're welcome. And so remember, everybody have a great day in the Lord. All you pitchers, keep throwing strikes. Hitters, give them some advice, Coach.
Hit the fastball.
There you go.
Hit the fastball. Yeah.
Hey, it's easy.
It's easy.
We'll see y'all
especially
next time.
when we don't have to do it.
Hey.